Welcome to a lesson where we will dive into subqueries topic. So in front, we have a query where we fetch data from our employees table on HR schema. So when I execute this query, we are fetching the employee's ID, first, last name, job ID, and the salary. And what if we want to fetch only the employees which have a salary which is higher than the average? If we fetch the average salary from the employees, we can see what is the average salary. And of course, we can fetch those employees which have higher salary by limiting our initial query with a where clause. So we would write where e salary is higher than the number that we fetched from our second query, right? Not that I'm using the table alias over here. And when we execute this query, we're gonna get all of the employees which have a salary higher than 6,461. But how to solve this without using two queries? At first, you would think that we can use the average function in our where clause. However, this will not work as we are not using the group by clause and we are not grouping any of our results, right? However, we can fix that by using a subquery. So our subquery is going to be completely identical to our second query. So I'm going to modify our first query, the where clause, where the e.salary is larger than our subquery. Note that I'm putting this now in the brackets. When I execute this, indeed, we got returned only the employees which have a higher salary than the average of all of the employees. Very nice. As we mentioned, we can also use the subqueries also in the select list. So let's just present that data also in our main results. And I'm going to name this just as average. So when I execute this, we can see that our results really do align. Now, what if we want to just fetch the employees which have a higher salary than the average for their job ID? We can solve that problem with a correlated subquery. And the syntax for this would be quite similar. And we can do that by limiting our subquery with a where clause as follows. So where job ID equals and the parent's job ID. So now my query is correlated as I'm fetching in my where clause only the average salary for a particular job ID. So when I execute this query, our results are aligned where the employee has a higher salary than the average for his job ID. Let's also include it in the select list. And let's name it average for job ID. And let's check the results. And we can see that indeed the results do align, as for each job ID, we got returned an average salary and only employees that have higher salary than the average for the job ID have been returned. Very nice. Before we proceed to the next lesson, an important thing to remember is when using the correlated subqueries, it is necessary to use the table aliases. The same as we used the table alias E, which is the table alias for the table in our parent query. And worth to mention is that correlated subqueries can degrade a performance of executing of the SQL statements. So in production, those queries should be optimized so they do not affect the performance of the system. This is it for this one, and see you in the next one.